Premax Podcast, episode 6. It is your boy TB. J. Steve unfortunately could not make it for this Premax Podcast. However, he will be joining us on the next one, and we'll be back and strong as ever. But for now, it is a podcast solo. So it's just going to be me talking about the news, the updates of everything that's going on right now. And it's a very, very long list. And to start it off at the top of said list, the interesting development that's been forming within the news lately. And I really resonate with what's going on right now within the beings of the case with Elijah McClain. Elijah McClain was a 23-year-old musician who was slain and killed a little later last year by the police force by lethal, well, not such lethal injection, but lethal enough to where it could kill a person like him. And unfortunately, he passed away via heart attack. It's baffling to me to see how rough the police were being with him in the videos and the audio, overhearing him trying to explain to himself that he was harmless, that he was innocent, and how he couldn't harm a fly, how he was this, that, and the other. But in all actuality, he was those things. He was just trying to get by and not get hurt. And unfortunately, due to our wavelength of our system being so jagged, unfortunately, we lost a very, very good musician. A very good musician. And because of which, now we're in a predicament to where we're faced with the roughest of rough times. And it kind of scares me a little bit, because the way that this case was handled, it was as if the whole system was overlooking the fact that this man was 23, didn't commit any felonies or crimes, but got killed for looking suspicious, walking on the street with a mask on. And in case you were wondering, for those who are out there thinking, oh, he's just wearing a mask because Corona. No, he actually was anemic, so he would get cold very easily. And he ended up needing to wear a ski mask because it would help him, warm himself up. So here we have a 23-year-old, 140-pound, 5'6", anemic, slightly autistic musician that loves to serenade his cats and bring joy to others who listen to his music. I cannot stress his age enough, because he is only, or was only, 1 year older than me, if not a year and a few months. I also have a cat, if you can't hear her in the background. I also play stringed instruments, and I also like making people happy. So to see someone so similar to me in a very drastic predicament that we've all experienced one way or another, it's kind of rough. But I believe that the protests that are being held, the peaceful ones, the rap artists that are taking that stand, the musicians that are expressing themselves across the world and much deeper in depth than most people choose to go into, I feel like this is really starting to trigger a change in our community. Deeper and more passionately, and definitely more effective than it ever has before. So I say to you all out there fighting, to keep at it. Stay safe while you're doing it, of course, but keep at it, stay on it. I feel like it's gonna really shift a change. To quote Malcolm X, if you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6, there's no progress. If you pull it all the way out, there's no progress. Progress is healing that wound that the blow made. A lot of people really assume that this knife hasn't even been addressed, much less pulled out. But I think we're all slowly but surely grabbing the knife by the hands and tugging it out of our side ourselves as hard as possible. And as long as this consistency keeps going, and as long as we keep, unifying nationwide, worldwide, I really feel like that we can make a change to the situation that we're in. We can finally pull out that knife and give it the room that it needs to heal. I feel like now, more than ever, we are so close. We are so close. But at the same time, so far, we have a long list of things we have to do, but I feel like this is the closest we've ever gotten to getting anything done. We're back to doing what we used to do, but harder and stronger than ever, because we have more people supporting the situation. The movement has a better footing than where it started from. And I feel like that if we keep going, staying as consistent as we can be, that something's going to change. I know some things never really do change, but I believe that this can be one of the things that the mandate of necessity is going to outweigh the ignorance of bliss that bigotry lives in, that discrimination lives in. I really feel like this might be something of huge importance. But speaking of importance, we're going to talk about the importance of sampling, the weight that sampling holds to music. Yeah, that segue though. Yeah. So we're going to talk about how important sampling is, and I'm going to use a very, very current example. Megan Thee Stallion just released a song called Hot Girls in the Hood. She rode the absolute hell out of that beat, and I loved every second of it. She handled her business. She did what she had to do. And whoever made this beat, I don't know who made this beat and produced it, but absolutely fire the way they flipped that sample. And with samples, a sense of familiarity really rings tried and true to some people. It takes them back to a generation and age where they can incorporate factors of their past, and it really kind of fits with the overall narrative. Like, for instance, Hot Girls in the Hood was basically a play on Boys in the Hood by NWA. Most people hear a sample and instantly cling to it. And hip hop has always revolved around familiarity and comfort, in a sense, when it came to the sample's sounds. And the sound that a sample gives off brings people to a position where they're thinking, oh, I remember this, or oh, this really embodies the culture, or oh, this sets a trend, or this sets a tone. A sample can change a song's narrative, just like a song can change a sample's narrative. It's really give and take depending on how you want to feed into the narrative. It's really give and take. You can either dive deeply into the sample and embody that and flip it into your own style like Meg Thee Stallion did, or you can take that sample and push it into a different lighting, like let's say SWV did with Michael Jackson, or basically what, and this is a reference to a different genre, but how Summer Walker basically flipped and sampled Usher's Leave the One I'm With for a song Come Through that she did with Usher. It really is a matter of what the situation feeds off of. Like, you can give the sense of familiarity power, or you can take that sense of familiarity and associate it with a powerful impact. For instance, there was no reference to any lyrical punch or anything lyrically that stood out on Boys in the Hood that was on Girls in the Hood. The only thing that they took was that one sample, that little bell in the background. And they took that and incorporated that into her own mantra, her own style, her own grind. And she took it by storm. So shout out to Meg Thee Stallion, of course. Of course, we always we love talking about Meg Thee Stallion on the show. But it's a cool thing because it just shows how much her impact is slowly starting to tread, steady waters. And, it's going to go up that incline that Jay is always talking about. And I definitely feel like she's going to be one of the most dominant names in rap still. That being said, however, apparently samples can definitely trigger issues amongst the industry. And I say that because apparently something went down between Eazy-E's estate and the daughter of Eazy-E. Supposedly she was trying to clear a sample for her dad, and she could not get the rights to the same extent that a Megan Thee Stallion could, or a Dr. Dre could, or Ice Cube could. And basically you see how their team somewhat moves in a sense, because it's not new to Eazy-E's estate, team, firm, record label, industry, package deal, that they like to grab a hold of money, considering, Ruthless Records and the history between them and Hopsin and whatnot, having been stuck out like a sore thumb, and whether or not they're treating their artists better after the whole Hopsin incident, it's really hard to say, because seeing as though they can get, this gigantic movie with Eazy-E in it, they probably made some kind of bank. And seeing as though, Meg Thee Stallion, who is arguably one of the biggest artists right now, buying features from them, they're getting their money's worth out of it. And who knows, they might pull a Sting and take the majority shares of the song. It really just depends, because seeing the industry kind of move and sway in the sense of samples really doesn't surprise me. Because if somebody has stake and claim over something that somebody else wants to utilize, of course they want to see some huge profits out of it. That being said, samples in hip-hop really tend to bring a following. Nas pretty much blew off of his entire Illmatic project, which has a lot of samples in it, and a lot of culturally huge songs have samples within them, and you see them kind of sway and bring a rise to new artists, and show people, hey, these people who made this song can show new lighting to an old spin on a song that you might remember, or a song, or even bring light to a song that you never heard of, like J. Cole with Middle Child. I'm pretty sure a couple of people back in the day have heard of the song that J. Cole sampled, but to me it was pretty surprising to hear the sample, because I never would expect, how advanced the technology got within that sense, and how even something so made distantly ago can really affect the tune of how today's sound sounds. It's showing that not all sounds are overaged in a sense. And I really feel as though that sampling isn't going to go anywhere anytime soon, especially for, nostalgia effect. A lot of people like to hear nostalgia. I'm pretty sure somebody's going to sample Rockstar by DaBaby and Roddy Ricch. Or maybe even sample something huge from a big artist from long ago. Who knows? Like, I'm seeing a whole bunch of people blowing up off of Beethoven. Like the sample of Fleur de Lis, or, other things that Beethoven made. Or, they blowing up off of Bach still. Like, that's how timeless it kind of shows that music can be. And that's why I feel like the effects of sampling really enhance other songs. That being said, I also have to look at the latter effect of a sample and showing semi-uncreative inspiration in a sense. Like, it's not really taking away from the person who made the song and twisted it in their own way, but it's semi-showing that even though you can find new sounds within a sound, you can't create your own sounds. You're going to have that imprint on you whenever you first sample. But it's not going to be that serious, It's not going to be like, ghostwriting serious, Like if you have somebody writing your songs for you, or in a sense, it's not going to be that serious. And even ghostwriting nowadays isn't that serious. So what can you do in that sense? You just got to swallow your pride and move on. So with that being said, sampling is probably not going to go anywhere anytime soon, and it might even last forever, because people like hearing nostalgia, people like learning about new things, and people like to experience something that hasn't really left their hearts in a sense, so it's really bringing out that essence. And they also like paying homage. A lot of artists like to pay homage. With me, I've sampled a few songs back in my heyday. And it's funny because I'm not even that old, to be honest with you. But when I did sample songs, I really could not be touched in a sense. Like, I never really missed with a sample. And that's just me thinking highly of myself, sure. But if you were to hear some of the sample songs that I've made back in the day, some people wouldn't even know where the sample's from. Some people wouldn't even know how the sample hit different, how this would land on this, like a lot of people wouldn't think of where things could land or how it should land, how chopping and screwing up samples or reversing samples or even leaving the samples the same could just transform someone's ears to altogether over any sort of style beat that you're going for. And it's really hilarious to think about. And that's kind of my mindset whenever I go into sampling. Like, I'd be watching a TV show and I just hear something and I take it and grab it and I take it to something else, because when I hear something, I can hear multiple things at once. The struggles of being a musician. Yeah. So I'd hear multiple things at once, take it over to my digital audio workstation, and I just go at it. That's just how it usually goes. But that's just how sampling is altogether. And that's how I feel like it kind of affects the community as a whole. It's not going anywhere because people like nostalgia. But I would say be wary, because it also could affect your originality, which a lot of musicians strive for nowadays, but it's kind of hard to obtain. But then again, you can find originality in art form of flattery, because, sampling definitely is flattery. Which brings me to the next area, subject, whatever you want to call it, the segment. It is the top 10 segment of the Billboard who is at the top of the charts today, this week, on Sunday? Who is at the top of the charts? The top 10 this past week. We are going to find out as we speak. The number 10 spot is held stable by Roddy Ricch with The Box. Number 9 is Rain on Me by Lady Gaga. She did decrease since the last time we saw her. However, she's still holding her places. Number 8 on the list is Roses by St. John. Still haven't gotten around to listening to that joint, but don't get me wrong, it's probably fire, especially since the world is listening to it. Number 7 is Intentions, Justin Bieber featuring Quavo. Surprisingly, Justin Bieber still at the top, which doesn't shock me too much, but it's pretty stunning to say the least, because of all of the attention kind of strayed away from Bieber. Number 6, we have Say So by Doja Cat featuring Nicki Minaj. I bet J. Steve is having a field day right now. So, number 5 is Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, still riding that top spot, handling and holding its place. Number 4, we have Savage by Meg Thee Stallion featuring Beyonce, still holding up on the charts, as usual. But it's actually lower than most people would think. Alright, so we have number 3, which is a brand new entry from the seams of it. The Bigger Picture by Lil Baby. We did discuss this on a past podcast. If you guys want to check out the past podcast, we have a whole playlist of them. Go check that out. We basically went over the in-depth analysis of rappers taking the initiative to bring lighting to the situation at hand. And the Baby really did sum that up in a way that a lot of people relate to. Number 2, we have Da Baby featuring Roddy Ricch, Rock Star. Now, Rockstar also has that similarity with The Bigger Picture and Lil Baby, but in a sense of braggadociousness and, bravado. Like, that's what The Baby's riding on. This song, I actually went to go back and listen to it in its entirety. Same with The Bigger Picture with Lil Baby. And seeing as though both kind of correlate in a sense, and they're both taking their initiatives, I'm loving the energy, the action that they're showing towards the cause. And I appreciate it. That being said, and I didn't know if it was going to come, but it came, and it hit hard. It hit different. So, number 1, we had talked about this not too long ago on the last podcast. Number 1 on the podcast, sitting pretty at the top 10, is Trolls by 6ix9ine and Nicki Minaj. Now, relatively speaking, considering that most of his sales are pushing his song, I absolutely get why he is at number 1, because of all of the promotions, the sale promotions and whatnot, the pushing of the song going crazy all over the place and people hearing it, the catchiness of the song. It's a really catchy song. Nicki bodied the track. They were basically holding their own the way they usually do, and they have somewhat of a chemistry, to say the least. Surprisingly enough, he took the number 1 spot. Now, it's unheard of to see somebody like 6ix9ine take the number 1 spot on the Billboard. Like, I'm not even sure if he's ever done that before. So to say that he got the number 1 spot on Billboard, he's probably bragging like crazy right now. And at this point in his career, I guess he has the right to do that. Now, the means of which he did it, some might not agree with, but we're not going to touch on that. We're just going to say that he got the top spot, how he got the top spot. Simple as that. the billboard was pretty shocking, to be honest, to say the least. And it seems about right now, considering the situation, because with nobody really doing too much in the performance area, the radio waves, the streaming, and the sales are really taking over the industry right now. So it was a really smart marketing strategy on Nicki Minaj and 6ix9ine's part. So, congrats. And speaking of congrats, we have the BET Awards 2020. We have updates going on live as we speak. And at this moment in time, we have all of the winners of every category. And I'll do a quick run through of everybody just to make sure that, people get adjusted to it. I did watch the entire show. I saw the entirety of it, and it was pretty good. It was really, really good. The showings that John Legend had, the tribute to Little Richard, that not Little Wayne, Wayne Brady put on a astounding performance in memory of Little Richard. There was the single, in my opinion, best opener to a BET Awards 2020, incorporating several different artists and rappers portraying the hands down most astounding performance of Fight the Power I've heard in a while. They got Rhapsody, Black Thought, Nas. They got YG. They got the original members of Public Enemy. And just to see them all incorporate that in the Roots, they see them actually get active as they can with the entirety of the show. And it really put on a good set-toned vibe as to what the whole show was going to consist of and be like. And it really was. You got to see history. You got to see memory. You got to see people expressing their distress on the situation currently. And you see that and you just really feel energized. Anyway, so I'm being long-winded. Let me go through the not really that long, but let me go through the list of winners this year. We have Album of the Year. They had several different people entered into the category: Lizzo, Meg Thee Stallion, Beyonce, her, DaBaby. But at the end of the day, the winner ended up being Roddy Ricch with his album Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial. And hands down, this year, or at least that period in time last year where he dominated, absolutely dominated, bro. When he dropped this album was great. The music was great. His message was great. He was great. Roddy Ricch was great on this show. He popped up twice, but he was great with his performances, and I was digging it. I don't even know if he played piano, but he was on a piano when he first started, and I was like, oh, go ahead, Roddy. Anyway, so Roddy Ricch was great on the show, and he deserves Album of the Year for having the album of that year, if not this year still. So congrats to him. The best female R&B pop artist went to, surprisingly, but not so surprisingly, Lizzo. Shout out to you, Lizzo. You deserve it. You worked hard for it. You grinded. You sound amazing still. Hope Tori doesn't hurt you too bad. All right. Best male R&B pop artist went to, surprisingly, very, very surprisingly, but not too surprisingly, it went to Chris Brown. It's surprising to me because they had Anderson .Paak, who had dominance over the last few years and this year. They had Jaquise, Mr. Quee. They had him on there. They had Khalid. They had Usher for some reason. I don't know if Usher dropped the project or not. But they also had The Weeknd. And The Weeknd did have a bigger album, in my opinion, than Breezy kind of did. But this was kind of based on last year. And the development over last year was Indigo Season kind of took over last year and took up a good chunk of what Chris had to offer. And his album, although be it long, was a really, really great album. So it was hard to say that, he didn't deserve it. He put in the grind and it shows. But The Weeknd did have, in technicality, the most popular album. Over at least Chris Brown. I don't know. But in consideration, I can definitely give Chris Brown the credit and congratulations. Best group. Let's be honest. We all know, somehow, some way, we all know that it was going to go to somebody that stuck out like a sore finger. And let me just read off the names and y'all tell me who y'all think win. Chloe X Haley, or Hallie, however you say her name. I'm sorry. I apologize. But we also have City Girls. We have Earth Gang. Earth Gang's lit, but they weren't winning this. Griselda. They had Jack Boys, and they had the Migos. I don't even remember the Migos dropping anything this year or last year even. But if they did, congratulations. You guys deserve it. Y'all work hard as is. Takeoff, Quavo, and Offset. Shout out to you guys. Best collaboration went to Chris Brown featuring Drake, No Guidance. Which sounds about right in a sense. Because, it's Chris Brown and Drake. Nobody expected the two to actually, team up together. But then also in the category, there was Khaled, John Legend, and Nipsey Hussle, which will be acknowledged in a later category. There's also Life is Good, Slide with her and YG. Hot Girl Summer, for some reason, was still on here, and Wale and Jeremiah on Chill was on here. But overall, those Chris Brown and Drake probably deserve it more. So the best male hip-hop artist. We all thought it was going to go to Drake or Roddy Ricch this year. But when you think about who they chose, it makes the most sense. The winner was DaBaby. And rightfully deserved. He grinded his ass off this year. He grinded and he hustled and he deserved it. Best female hip-hop artist. Let's just stop beating around the bush. Megan Thee Stallion clobbered that area. And it did have other artists like Cardi B, Doja Cat, Nicki Minaj, Saweetie, and Lizzo, but who stood against Meg? Who stood against Meg this year? Nobody. Anyway, congratulations, Meg. Video of the year ended up going to DJ Khaled, Nipsey Hussle, and John Legend with Higher. Now, that video was a stunner to look at. Hit all kinds of different and deserves every award that it'll ever get, because that video hit different, especially after Nipsey Hussle passed. So R.I.P. Nipsey, you deserve it. Congratulations. Shout out to John Legend. Shout out to DJ Khaled. Yeah. All right. So Video Director of the Year. This one kind of took me by storm. I was kind of shocked with this category. They had Benny Boom, they had Dave Myers, they had Director X, they had Elf Rivera, they had the God, Cole Bennett. And they had, for some reason, and she won, which I guess I haven't really seen any of her videos, but maybe if I were to see her videos, I would have understood. So the winner ended up being Tiana Taylor, or as she goes by, Spike T. Congratulations. I did not know that you directed all your own videos, or I don't know whose videos you actually recorded, but congratulations, you deserve it. In my opinion, Cole probably deserved it a little bit more than maybe even Dave Myers, but shout out to Tiana Taylor regardless. She deserves it. She grinded for what she got, and shout out to her. Best New Artist. This one actually shocked me a little bit less, but it still kind of shocked me a bit. Best New Artist went to Roddy Ricch. And Roddy Ricch, shout out to you, my brother. You deserve it. You deserve Album of the Year. You deserve Best New Artist. You deserve every award that you're going to get tonight because you grinded hard, man. And shout out to you. The Dr. Bobby Jones Best Gospel Inspirational Song. This had me rolling. This had me rolling because I figured it was going to be either Kirk Franklin or Kanye West in this category. And it was Kirk Franklin for Just For Me. But I heard that song, and that song really hits different. It's beautiful. It's a nice song. Go check it out. Shout out to Kirk Franklin. Met the dude. Really nice dude. Shout out to Kirk. Best Movie went to The Queen and Slim. Shout out to you guys. Everyone who made that movie. Shout out to you. It was probably a good movie. I didn't get to see it, but I will. And I promise you that I will give my honest opinion next week if I get to it. Best Actress went to Issa Rae. We all figured it was going to be Issa Rae. Everybody else, shout out to you guys. Regina King, Tracy Ellis Ross, Zendaya, Angela Bassett, Cynthia Everett. I probably butchered your name there, but shout out to y'all. But we all know Issa Rae was going to probably take it. Best Actor went to none other than Michael B. Jordan. Michael, you are a animal. All right. Moving along, we're going to skip over the sportsmen and sportswomen of the year because those are kind of common ones. If you know sportsmen, you know who you're going to think of. And for sportswomen, it's probably the same in a sense with Simone Biles and LeBron James. All right. We have the BET Her Award going to the Brown Skin Girl. Shout out to you guys. Beyonce, Blue Ivy, Wizkid, and St. John. Shout out to you all. You guys did great. Viewers' Choice Award went to Hot Girl Summer. Shout out to Meg Thee Stallion again and Nicki again. I could have sworn this song was older than that. But shout out to y'all regardless. Oh, Lord. Best International Act went to Burna Boy. Shout out to you. You are hard. I heard your music. Shout out to Nigeria. Y'all hold it down. Motherland. Viewers' Choice Best New International Act went to Shasha from Zimbabwe. Shout out to you guys. And that is basically the entire synopsis of the show. They probably will run over a few extras, but for the most part, that is the dominant area of the BET Awards. And I have to say, with all of the tributes, with all the performances that I saw, they were absolutely great, absolutely amazing. It was worth the watch, worth the experience, and probably, in my opinion, one of the better showings of the BET Awards. It's kind of like a must-watch in a sense. Like, there was no boring moment, no moment you were waiting for when you were watching it. It was just embracing the vibes from the safety of your own home. It was great. So go ahead, check it out on their channel. Shout out to you guys at BET. Shout out to everyone who's been supporting the artist. And together we'll just make it through the difficulties that we are. And we'll just overcome them all. Simple as that. And I also want to acknowledge the fact that we did not post last week because of Father's Day. And we said we were going to talk about the fathers. We said we were going to talk about them, but we felt that it would be more peaceful if everybody spent more time with their dads, because dads don't get enough credit like they need to. They don't get enough credit like they need to. So shout out to all the fathers out there, including mine. And with that being said, I am TB. J. Steve will be back next week, and we are closing out.